like this war is unholy. Forcing out a furnace, find the reach and hold it. All it takes to be alive.
Alright, guys, Stars just dropped the first official look at Outlander Season 8 Episode 1. And I need you to sit down for this because what we're seeing is giving us everything we didn't know we desperately needed after years of separation, heartbreak, and impossible choices. Claire and Jaime Fraser are finally getting the romantic moments that remind us why we fell in love with this story in the first place. But here's the thing, this isn't just romance for the sake of it. Every tender glance, every touch, every whispered word between them feels like it's laced with the weight of finality. Like the show is deliberately reminding us that time is running out, and honestly, I'm not ready for what that means. So let's talk about what we know so far about Episode 1. Because the pieces we're getting are painting a picture that's equal parts beautiful and devastating. First off, the episode is reportedly titled Unfinished Business, which already tells us so much about where the story is headed. This isn't just about tying up loose plot threads. It's about relationships that have been strained, words left unsaid, and moments that were stolen by war, time travel, and fate. And if you know anything about Outlander, you know that unfinished business in this world usually means someone's heart is about to get absolutely shattered. The first look images that have been released show Claire and Jaime in what appears to be the early days after the Fraser family reunion we've been waiting for since Season 7 Part 2. They're at Fraser's Ridge, surrounded by the forest and mountains that have always felt like home base for their story. But what's striking about these images isn't just the setting. It's the way Claire and Jaime are looking at each other. There's this tenderness that feels almost fragile, like they're both hyper-aware of how precious every moment together has become. In one image, Jaime is holding Claire's face in his hands, his thumb gently brushing her cheek. And Claire's eyes are closed like she's trying to memorize the feeling of his touch. I mean, tell me that doesn't wreck you, because it absolutely wrecked me. This is the kind of intimacy that Outlander does better than any other show. And seeing it front and center in Episode 1 feels like both a gift and a warning. What makes this even more romantic and yes, more heartbreaking is the context we have from the Season 8 teaser and the book storylines we know are coming. Claire and Jaime are no longer the young, invincible couple from Season 1. They've been through wars, lost children, faced death more times than anyone should. And they're painfully aware that their time together is finite. The Revolutionary War is escalating, danger is closing in from every direction. And Frank's book still hangs over them like a curse, predicting Jaime's death in battle. So when we see them stealing these quiet, intimate moments in Episode 1, it's not just romance. It's desperation. It's two people who know the clock is ticking and are determined to hold onto each other for as long as they possibly can. Another image shows them walking hand in hand through the woods at golden hour, the light filtering through the trees in that dreamy, almost ethereal way that Outlander's cinematography is famous for. Jaime is looking at Claire, and there's this softness in his expression that we don't always get to see. He's not in warrior mode, he's not strategizing or preparing for the next battle. He's just a man in love with his wife, soaking in the peace of being together. And Claire, she's smiling, but there's something bittersweet in it. Like she's trying to hold onto the happiness while knowing it can't last forever. From what insiders have hinted, Episode 1 will also feature a scene where Claire and Jaime finally have a real conversation about everything that's happened. We're talking about the kind of deep, emotional dialogue that made us fall in love with their relationship in the first place. They're going to talk about the years they've lost, the sacrifices they've made, and what they want their future to look like, however much of it they have left. This isn't just pillow talk or surface-level reassurance. This is two people being brutally honest about their fears, their regrets, and their hopes, and honestly, I'm not emotionally prepared for it. We've been waiting for this kind of scene for so long, especially after the chaos of Season 7. Where Claire and Jaime barely had time to breathe, let alone connect on this level. Episode 1 is giving us that space, that intimacy, and it's going to be absolutely beautiful and absolutely devastating at the same time. There's also been talk that the episode will include a callback to some of their most iconic romantic moments from earlier seasons. We might see them dancing together, echoing the wedding episode from Season 1. We might hear Jaime call Claire Sassenach in that specific tone that makes every fan's heart skip a beat. These aren't just nostalgic Easter eggs, they're the show, reminding us of the journey these characters have been on and how far they've come together. Now, while Claire and Jaime are getting these gorgeous, intimate moments that are making us all emotional, Episode 1 isn't just about them. The first look has also given us glimpses of Brianna and Roger, and let me tell you, their story is shaping up to be just as romantic and just as complicated. After the absolute chaos of Season 7 Part 2, where Brianna was desperately searching for Roger and the kids across time, and that heart-stopping reunion we finally got. Episode 1 appears to show them settling into their decision to stay in the 18th century with Claire and Jaime, and honestly, the images we're seeing of them are giving major couple goals energy. There's one particular shot of Brianna and Roger standing together on the porch of what looks like their cabin at Fraser's Ridge, and Roger has his arms wrapped around Brianna from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. They're both looking out at the landscape, and there's this sense of peace and belonging that we haven't seen from them in seasons. For so long, Bree and Roger have been caught between two worlds, never quite sure where they fit, always worried about the next disaster. But in this moment, they look settled, they look like they've finally found their place. And that's incredibly romantic in its own right, because their love story has always been about choosing each other despite impossible circumstances. The fact that they've made the conscious decision to stay in the past, to build a life with Claire and Jaime, to raise their children in this dangerous but meaningful time. That's the kind of commitment that hits differently. What's also interesting is that the first look suggests we're going to see Brianna and Roger navigating their relationship as parents in this new old world. There are hints that Mandy and Jem are adjusting to life at Fraser's Ridge, and Bree and Roger are figuring out how to give their kids a normal childhood. In decidedly abnormal circumstances, we might see scenes of them teaching the kids, playing with them, creating little pockets of joy and normalcy despite everything happening around them. And I have to say, watching Brianna and Roger as a united parenting team, supporting each other through the challenges of raising time-traveling children in the 18th century, that's going to be beautiful to watch. It's a different kind of romance than what we see with Claire and Jaime, but it's just as powerful. It's the romance of partnership, of building a life together brick by brick, of choosing each other every single day even when things are hard. From what we're hearing, Episode 1 will also include a scene where Roger serenades Brianna. Yes, you read that right. Roger, with his historian heart and his beautiful singing voice, is apparently going to sing for his wife, and I'm already crying about it. We don't know what song he'll choose, but knowing Roger, it'll be something meaningful, something that captures everything he feels for Brianna and everything they've been through together. This is peak Outlander romance, the kind of moment that reminds us why we're so invested in these characters and their relationships. But here's where things get more complex. Because while the romance is absolutely front and center in Episode 1, there are undercurrents of tension that we can't ignore. The Revolutionary War is escalating, and Fraser's Ridge, despite feeling like a safe haven, is anything but safe. There are rumors that British soldiers are moving through the area, that loyalists and patriots are clashing more violently, and that the Frasers are going to find themselves caught in the middle, whether they want to be or not. So these romantic moments, these quiet scenes of Claire and Jaime holding each other, of Brianna and Roger building their life together, they're all happening against a backdrop of impending danger. It's like the calm before the storm, and we know the storm is coming. The first look images also show Jaime in his military coat, looking every bit the soldier and leader, which suggests that even in Episode 1, he's already being pulled back into the conflict. We see Claire watching him with this expression of fear and resignation, knowing that she can't keep him safe no matter how much she wants to. And that's the heartbreak threaded through all this romance. These characters are stealing moments of happiness and intimacy because they know those moments might be all they get. There's also been speculation that Episode 1 will set up some of the major conflicts we know are coming based on the books. The print shop tragedy that we talked about earlier, the danger surrounding Lord John Grey and William, the secrets and betrayals that are going to come to light. All of that is lurking just beneath the surface. We're hearing that Episode 1 will include conversations between Claire and Brianna that are going to absolutely wreck us emotionally. These aren't just casual mother-daughter chats. These are deep, meaningful discussions about life, love, sacrifice, and what it means to be a Fraser woman. Claire has spent so much of her life torn between worlds, making impossible choices, and watching the people she loves suffer because of those choices. Now, seeing Brianna go through similar struggles, making her own impossible decisions about where to live and how to protect her family, Claire is getting a mirror held up to her own journey. And from what we're hearing, there's a scene where Claire opens up to Brianna about her fears, about the weight of knowing too much from the future, about the guilt of bringing Brianna into a world of danger and uncertainty, and Brianna, in turn, reassures her mother that she doesn't regret any of it, that she wouldn't trade her life or her family for anything, even with all the pain and chaos. I mean, just thinking about this conversation is making me emotional because it's the kind of raw, honest moment that Outlander does so brilliantly. It's not just about advancing the plot, it's about these characters connecting on a soul-deep level, understanding each other in ways that no one else possibly could. Similarly, we're expecting scenes between Jaime and Roger that explore what it means to be a man in this family, to protect the people you love while knowing you might not be strong enough or fast enough, or smart enough to keep them safe from everything. Roger has always struggled with feeling like he doesn't quite measure up to Jaime, like he's not warrior enough or brave enough to be the husband and father his family needs. But episode 1 might finally give us the moment where Jaime affirms Roger, where he tells him that strength isn't just about wielding a sword or winning battles. It's about showing up every day, about making the hard choices, about loving your family fiercely even when you're terrified. This kind of scene would be incredibly powerful, especially because Jaime and Roger's relationship has been complicated. From the start, they respect each other, but there's always been this unspoken tension. This sense that Roger is trying to prove himself worthy of being part of the Fraser family. If episode 1 gives us a moment where Jaime explicitly welcomes Roger as an equal, as a true son and partner in protecting this family, that's going to hit so hard. And honestly, it would be the perfect setup for whatever challenges are coming, because we know Roger is going to need that confidence and that sense of belonging to face what's ahead. The first look has also given us glimpses of some of the supporting characters, and it seems like episode 1 is going to take time to check in with people we haven't seen in a while. Fergus and Marsali are reportedly back, and from the images we've seen, they look worn down but determined. They've been through hell, losing a child, struggling to keep their family together, dealing with Fergus's ongoing trauma and self-doubt. But they're still here, still fighting for each other and their children. We're hearing that episode 1 might include a scene where Marsali and Claire reconnect, where Marsali opens up about the grief and exhaustion she's carrying and Claire offers her the kind of understanding and support that only someone who's lost as much as she has can provide. This isn't just about medical advice or practical help. It's about two women who have survived unimaginable pain recognizing each other's strength and resilience, and honestly, Outlander needs more of these female friendships, these moments where women support and uplift each other instead of competing or judging. If episode 1 delivers on this, it's going to add another layer of emotional depth to an already heavy season. Ian and Rachel are also expected to appear, and from what we're hearing, they're in full newlywed bliss mode. After everything Ian has been through, losing his first wife, struggling with his identity, trying to find where he belongs, seeing him genuinely happy and in love is going to be such a relief. Rachel has been so good for him, grounding him, challenging him, loving him unconditionally, and Ian, in turn, has found purpose and peace in building a life with her. Episode 1 might show them settling into married life, figuring out their routines, maybe even talking about starting a family of their own. This would provide a nice counterbalance to all the heavier storylines, giving us something hopeful and joyful to hold onto. But knowing Outlander, even Ian and Rachel's happiness is probably going to be threatened at some point, because this show doesn't let anyone stay happy for too long. Still, for episode 1 at least, it sounds like we're going to get to see them just being in love and enjoying each other, and honestly, we need that. We need to see that not every relationship in this world is defined by tragedy and loss, that some people do get their happy ending, or at least their happy middle. Now, let's talk about William, because his storyline is shaping up to be one of the most complex and emotionally charged of the season. The first look suggests that episode 1 will continue to explore William's relationship with Jaime, and more importantly, his struggle to accept that Jaime is his biological father. This isn't something that gets resolved in one conversation or one emotional moment. William has spent his entire life believing he's the son of the 9th Earl of Ellesmere, building his identity around that legacy. And now everything he thought he knew about himself has been turned upside down. He's angry, he's confused, he's grieving the loss of the father he thought he had, while simultaneously trying to figure out what it means that Jaime Fraser is his real father. From what we're hearing, episode 1 will include a scene where William and Jaime are forced to work together on something, maybe dealing with a threat to Fraser's Ridge or helping with some kind of community issue. And through that collaboration, they start to see each other differently. William begins to understand that Jaime isn't trying to replace Lord John or take over his life. Jaime just wants a chance to know his son, to be there for him in whatever capacity William will allow. And Jaime, for his part, is learning to be patient, to let William come to terms with this revelation in his own time instead of pushing for the father-son relationship he's always dreamed of. It's messy and complicated and painfully realistic, which is exactly what makes it so compelling. We're also hearing that Lord John Grey will appear in episode 1, and his presence is going to add another layer of tension to an already fraught situation. Lord John has been William's true father in every way that matters, raising him, loving him, shaping him into the man he's become. And now he has to watch as William grapples with his connection to Jaime, knowing that no matter how much he loves William, he can't erase the biological truth or the bond that's forming between William and Jaime. There's apparently a scene where Lord John and Jaime have a private conversation about William, and it's supposed to be one of the most emotionally complex scenes of the episode. These two men, who have their own complicated history of friendship and unspoken feelings, now have to navigate co-parenting a grown man who doesn't know what he wants or needs from either of them. It's the kind of nuanced, mature storytelling that Outlander excels at when it takes the time to really dig into character relationships. What's particularly interesting about episode 1 is how it's reportedly balancing all these different story lines and emotional beats without feeling rushed or overcrowded. We're hearing that the pacing is deliberate, almost meditative at times, allowing scenes to breathe and characters to just exist in moments, without always driving toward the next plot point. This is such a refreshing approach, especially for a final season where there's so much story to wrap up. Instead of racing through everything, episode 1 seems to be saying, let's take our time. Let's savor these characters and these relationships while we still can, and honestly, that makes the romance even more impactful. When you're not rushing from crisis to crisis, when you're allowing Claire and Jaime to just be together, to talk and touch and exist in each other's presence, the intimacy becomes so much more powerful. We're also hearing that the episode will include several callbacks to earlier seasons, not just in terms of dialogue or visual references, but in terms of emotional themes. Episode 1 is apparently going to remind us of why we fell in love with Outlander in the first place, stripping away some of the complex political machinations and time travel mechanics to focus on the core of the story, which has always been about love, family, sacrifice, and the choices we make to protect the people who matter most to us. There are rumors that we'll see a scene that directly parallels the wedding episode from season 1, with Claire and Jaime reaffirming their commitment to each other. It might not be a literal wedding or vow renewal, but something that carries the same emotional weight, the same sense of these two people choosing each other all over again despite everything they've been through and everything they know is coming. I mean, just the thought of that is making me tear up. Because Claire and Jaime's relationship has been tested in every possible way, torn apart by time and war and impossible circumstances, and yet they keep finding their way back to each other. Section 5. What really makes episode 1 feel so romantic, beyond all the beautiful imagery and tender moments, is the sense of intentionality behind everything. These characters aren't just going through the motions or getting swept up in circumstances beyond their control. They're making deliberate choices about how they want to spend their time, who they want to be with, what matters most to them. Claire is choosing to be fully present with Jaime instead of constantly worrying about the future she knows is coming. Jaime is choosing to be vulnerable and open with Claire instead of hiding behind his warrior facade. Brianna and Roger are choosing to build a life in the past instead of running back to the safety and comfort of their own time. These are active, conscious decisions, and that makes the romance so much more meaningful. It's not just about passion or attraction or destiny. It's about commitment, about showing up for each other day after day, about loving each other through the fear and uncertainty, and honestly, that's the kind of romance that hits the hardest, because it's real and messy and difficult and beautiful all at once. We're also hearing that episode 1 will end on a note that's both hopeful and ominous, giving us a moment of peace and connection before pulling the rug out from under us, with a final scene that reminds us just how much danger these characters are in. It might be a lingering shot of Claire and Jaime holding each other, completely lost in their own world, while in the background we see shadows moving, soldiers approaching, storm clouds gathering. Or it might be a moment where the family is laughing and talking together, and then someone arrives with news that changes everything, that forces them back into crisis mode and reminds us that their time together is borrowed and precious and running out far too quickly. Whatever the final moments of episode 1 look like, it's clear that this episode is setting the tone for the entire final season. It's telling us that yes, we're going to get the romance and intimacy and beautiful character moments we've been craving, but we're also going to have to watch these characters face their greatest challenges yet. We're going to have to say goodbye to people we love. We're going to have to sit through heartbreak and loss and devastation, and the romance, the love, the family bonds that episode 1 is celebrating so beautifully, those are going to make the pain so much worse when it comes, because that's what Outlander has always done. It makes us fall deeply, completely in love with these characters and their relationships. And then it puts them through absolute hell and forces us to watch. But here's the thing, we watch anyway, we sign up for the pain because the love is worth it. We invest in these characters because their stories matter. Because their struggles and triumphs and choices resonate with something deep inside us. And episode 1, with all its romance and tenderness and bittersweet beauty, is reminding us exactly why we're here. Why we've stayed with this story through 8 seasons of joy and heartbreak. It's reminding us that love, real love, the kind that survives time travel and war and impossible odds, is the most powerful force in the universe. It's what makes us human. It's what gives meaning to everything else. So yes, Outlander Season 8 Episode 1 is looking incredibly romantic. It's giving us the Claire and Jaime moments we've been desperate for. It's showing us Brianna and Roger building the life they've always wanted. It's bringing the Fraser family together in ways we haven't seen in years. But it's also preparing us for the goodbye that's coming. For the losses we're going to have to endure. For the ending that's going to break our hearts even as it gives these characters the closure and peace they deserve. And honestly, I don't think I'm ready for any of it. I don't think any of us are ready. But we're going to watch anyway. Because that's what this fandom does. We show up for each other and for these characters, and we hold on tight through every twist and turn. Every moment of joy and every moment of pain. Episode 1 is just the beginning, but what a beginning it promises to be. If you're as emotional about all of this as I am, if you're counting down the days until March 6th, if you need someone to scream about Outlander with as we navigate this final season together, make sure you hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what you're most excited or most terrified to see in episode 1. And subscribe so we can keep this conversation going every single week, breaking down episodes, analyzing every detail, crying together over whatever devastating thing the show throws at us next. Because let's be real, we're going to need each other to get through this. This is it, guys. The final season, the last chapter of a story we've loved for years. Let's make sure we savor every single moment, every romantic gesture, every heartbreaking goodbye, every beautiful memory these characters give us. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, I'm going to be over here rewatching the first look images and definitely not crying about everything that's coming.